I really hope none of the teenagers I know see this. Look away, kids. Miss Moth is posting cringe. So, it's come to this. I know a lot of you are still waiting on another Monster Hunter video, but evidently the gods have other plans because the supplies that I've ordered have fallen victim to pandemic shipping purgatory. In the meantime, we gotta improvise. For better or for worse, the quiet madness of prolonged isolation has awakened the K-pop sleeper agent in me, and now you all have to deal with it. I'm not like a Twitter stan or anything like that. I don't reply to random tweet threads with fan cams and that kind of shit. And I could go on a rant about all of the problems that I have with the industry, but at the same time, sometimes I just want to watch cute girls in cute outfits and cute makeup doing fun dances to fun songs. Since more and more will be out soon, and since I'm late to everything always, today we're gonna recreate the look that TWICE Dahyun wore for the Feel Special comeback stage. Specifically the weird, sheer, ruffly organza crop top that she was wearing. Not to be too mean to the stylists who are almost certainly overworked and underpaid, but the styling for this stage was honestly kind of baffling for me. I actually think Chio and Chaeyoung look great. Obviously, I think Dahyun's top is kind of fun, otherwise I wouldn't be making it. Since it's so sheer, they have a lumpy white bandeau or something all bunched up underneath of it. It looks kind of awkward. As for the pants, we've all seen this look somewhere before. And Jeonyeon just got done dirty. She's dressed as a pillow, I guess because her stylist was asleep at the wheel. Someone free her. Also, overall bold play putting everyone in head-to-toe satin, a fabric that exaggerates the hell out of wrinkles right before they're all about to go out under really bright stage lights. Not making a value judgment here, just saying bold play. Anyway, Dahyun. This outfit is a two-piece set originally from Doll's Kill. It's the top and then these kind of high-waisted track pants. I actually would like to have a pair of pants with a snap side like twill tape situation going on. However, I already don't like the way that organza feels against my skin. It's really scratchy and really stiff, and I don't really want to cradle my crotch in it, so we're not making pants today. Obviously, the whole set is sold out now, so we have to make it ourselves. Also, Doll's Kill is annoying, so even if it wasn't sold out, I'd still teach you how to rip off their shit for free. In addition, I have gotten some comments both on YouTube and on places where my videos have been shared with people saying like, that's awesome, but that's so hard, I can't do that. I never want the message that you take away from my videos to be that not knowing how to do something or being intimidated by something means that you shouldn't try it. Which is why I am going to attempt to learn some of this choreography. I don't have any formal dance instruction. I enjoy dancing. I like dancing at parties and with my friends at clubs, but like, I don't really know anything about learning choreography, so if this is a train wreck, you know what you signed up for. Anyway, whatever, let's roll the tutorial and see what happens. Take your bust measurement. Decide how poofy you want it. If you're like me and numbers reassure you, you can multiply your bust measurement by about 1.3 or more. Otherwise, just make it bigger around than your chest. Draw a rectangle with 1/2 that length and enough height to cover your preferred amount of boob. I don't really want to show any cleavage, but you can live your truth, I won't stop you. Add seam allowance around both long sides and one short side. The remaining short side will be cut on the fold, so you don't need to add any seam allowance. Lay the pattern on the fold of a piece of lining fabric. These fabrics are lightweight, so you might want to use a rotary cutter instead of scissors. Hold it in place with something heavy like a brass unicorn and a rubber baby, and cut it out. Repeat this for your main fabric. Organza frays like hell, so we can preempt this by running a hot tool over it to melt the edges. This tip is great because it'll give you the reassurance that not only is your fabric fray-proof, but also that your smoke alarms are all in working order. I laid the fabric and lining pieces wrong sides together and used an overlock stitch around the perimeter to further prevent fraying because I have trust issues. To make the channel for the elastic, fold over an amount of fabric towards the inside that is a bit wider than your elastic and sew it down. Then fold the bodice in half, right sides together, and sew, but stop before you get to either elastic channel or else you won't have an opening to work with. Cut a piece of elastic long enough to fit snugly around the top of your chest and another to fit around the underbust area. Safety pin one end of the elastic to the outside of its respective channel so it doesn't get pulled into the hole where you can't reach it, and then attach a safety pin to the other end and use it to feed the elastic through the channel. Try to distribute the scrunching as you go to make it easier. With the elastic fed through and secured at either opening, sew up the last bit of side seam you skipped before, making sure you're catching both ends of the elastic in the seam. Repeat this for the other side. Your boob donut is complete. Okay, so I realized that I had not cleaned out my sewing machine since before I sewed all of that faux fur for my Monster Hunter cosplay, and oh my god. How not to take care of a sewing machine. Moving on. The sleeves have 5 tiers of cones, which we can pattern with the same premise as a circle skirt. Measure your arm circumference, and then add a little more seam allowance than you usually would for a French seam. I don't know, like 1 3/8 or something? I eyeballed that shit. Or, if your sewing machine free arm is girthier than your flesh arm and you would like to save yourself some hand sewing, base this measurement on your sewing machine arm circumference instead. Now, if we wanted a full circle ruffle, we would just use this number as the circumference of the hole in the center. However, the tiers are a bit narrower than that, so a full circle is too much. I went with a half circle instead. But you can't just cut your full circle pattern in half and call it a day, because geometry, so we need to adjust the radius of our half circle so the final inner circumference is the same. The radius of our full circle is equal to circumference divided by 2 pi, so if we want to cut a half circle and join the edges but keep the size of the hole the same, we need to multiply by 2. So if my arm opening is 11 inches around, we would plug in 11 divided by 2 pi times 2 to yield a radius of about 3.5 inches. You can do this to find the radius required for any fraction of circle, skirt, ruffle, or whatever you need, so knock yourself out. The quickest way to cut out the pattern is to fold the paper in half and then make an arc from the corner at a distance of your radius measurement. Then make another arc, I don't know, however tall you want it to be, plus some for a rolled hem, cut it out, and unfold. And ta-da, it's a half circle. Now, I showed you how to make a pattern for the full piece so you can make the most of what fabric you have, but if you have enough to cut on the fold, you can place the quarter circle on the fold for the same result. I'm using my pizza cutter, but if you're finding it awkward to cut this sort of fabric with scissors, you can pin it down to a layer of tissue paper first to make it easier. As an added bonus, if you cut out your fabric pieces this way, you will have also cut out tissue pieces in case you decide to make a version of this outfit for a piñata. Once again, test your smoke alarm batteries. I chose to overlock the inside edges as well. Now, when hemming a sheer fabric like organza, we need to do a narrow hem to make it tidy. This is pretty straightforward if you have a rolled hem foot, but if you're like me and you don't have one of those, I will show you 2 ways to handle this. The first way, fold over a narrow amount of fabric and stitch it down. Then fold it over a second time and stitch again. If you need to trim some with a raw edge after the first fold to make it fit, you can. The second way, without folding, stitch a line, I don't know, like a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch in from the edge, and then press the edge up toward the inside along this line of stitching. If you aren't confident your fabric won't burn, use a press cloth. Then you can roll the hem by hand like so, and the stitching and crease will make the fabric easier to turn. Whatever method you choose, do this for all of your tiers. If hemming these fabric tiers has brought you to actual tiers, take a break to eat some peanuts, and then get distracted by an uninvited guest who wants to extort you for said peanuts. Sir, can I help you? I think he's making soup. This raccoon has better pandemic hygiene than most American citizens. Back to the tiers. Once again, since the fabric is see-through, we need to do things a little differently to keep it looking neat. To make a French seam, first sew a narrow seam with wrong sides together. If you need to trim down the raw edge a bit, you can. Then turn it inside out so the right sides are together and sew a seam a bit wider than the previous one so that the raw seam allowance is enclosed. Now do this 9 more times. For your sleeve base, cut out a rectangle of fabric with a width the same as the circumference of your sleeve tiers before you sewed them closed, so including seam allowance, so that when you sew the sleeve into a tube, it matches the circumference of the tiers and the length of however long you want the sleeve to be, plus seam allowance on the top. I went ahead and overlocked the edge that would be the wrist opening and then sewed it into a tube with a French seam. The top tier we're going to sew on a bit differently so we can add the elastic. With the sleeve right side out, put the first tier inside it, also right side out, and sew together along the edge. Flip the tier over so that it is on the outside, we'll come back to this. Sew the other tiers on spaced out however looks good to you. If you made your sleeve fit over your sewing machine arm, you can just straight stitch all the way around. If you didn't, you're hand sewing those bad boys on, baby. Back to the top tier, sew a loop of elastic that fits snugly around your upper arm and then situate it so that it is up against the seam underneath your top tier. Then top stitch the top tier down to encase the elastic. You know, I'm starting to think even the half circle might have been too generous. Last step. Pin the sleeves to the sides of your boob donut and straight stitch them on with about an inch of stitching. Now look in the mirror and see if it makes you feel special. I appreciate that wig manufacturers want to give me more hair for my money, but at the same time, my head is not very big. So when you put a wig on me right out of the bag, it looks like toddlers and tiaras. So we are gonna do some surgery. Swear to God, there's enough for like a whole additional head of hair here. Oh my god, your dog is so cute. What breed is it? This wig is almost certainly not meant to be French braided because you can see the tracks really bad in the back, and I also already took out a bunch of the tracks, so I'm just gonna braid it from the base of my skull, and if I look like I'm on my way to summer camp, then them's the breaks. I understand now why they gave her that weird top underneath of this one, because this happens. I was too judgmental. I'm sorry, I take it back.